Yeah, hello. Good morning and welcome to this webinar on higher education of future of engineering education prospects by Professor Dilip Malkede, which has been organized by NMAM Institute of Technology, NITE, in Udupi district of Karnataka state. At the outset, let me welcome the speaker, Professor Dilip Malkede, for this webinar, and also I welcome all the participants who have registered for this particular webinar. When we requested Professor Dilip Malkede through our mechanical engineering department of the college, that is through HOD of mechanical engineering, Professor Shashikant Karika, he agreed to give this particular webinar, and I am very sure that with his vast experience in the field of education and administration, all of us will get benefited at the end of this particular webinar. Once again, I take this opportunity to welcome Professor Dilip Malkede and all the attendees of this particular webinar. Thank you.
Now let me introduce Professor Dilip Malkede. I am very much delighted to introduce an extraordinary person, a luminary, a researcher, teacher, academician, mentor, administrator, above all a great human being. Professor Dilip Malkede is Advisor 1, Head of the Bureau of Policy and Academic Planning. Prior to joining AICT, he was Professor and Head of the Department of Mechanical Engineering at College of Engineering, Pune, in short COEP. He obtained his Bachelor and Master's degree in Mechanical Engineering from Government College of Engineering, Amaravati, Maharashtra, followed by doctoral degree from the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. He has a total of 30+ years of experience in teaching and industry put together. As an advisor at AICTE, he is currently heading the Policy and Academic Planning Bureau. He deals with matters related to maintaining norms and standards in central, state deemed, private de novo deemed to be universities. He also deals with matters related to constitution of the Executive Committee, regional committees of AICTE, and in all India boards of niche in UG education in engineering and technology, PG education and research in engineering and technology, management education, pharmacy education, applied arts, maths and design education, architectural engineering, hospitality and tourism management education, town and country planning education, technician education, IT education, vocational education, etc. At AICTE, he has also taken several quality improvement initiatives for improvement of technical education in India through various schemes such as RPS, MODROP, Hostel for SC/ST students, Hostel for physically disabled students, Seminar Grant, Conference Grant, and variety of scholarship schemes for different category of students. Special schemes for Northeast India are designed. His focus is quality improvement through faculty training. He is the originator of the new scheme NDF for full-time funded research in AICTE approved colleges. Scheme for sending student teams for participating in competition abroad has brought laurels to the country. He has been instrumental in organizing Smart India Hackathon 2017 and for 2018, which is a nationwide students competition for solving citizens' problems. The competition was supported by 27 different Government of India ministries with very large number of students participating in 36 hours long non-stop computer programming event simultaneously happening in 26 different cities in the country. As an academician, he is a approved PhD guide. His area of research is IC engines, its modeling and simulation, and electronic controls. He has to his credit several journals and conference papers. As a professor and head of the department at College of Engineering, Pune, he transformed the department by starting co-teaching for every course, setting up Tinkerers labs for project-based learning through teams of students such as Baja, Epicycle, Go-Kart and Solar Powered Car. Baja COEP has brought laurels not only to COEP by being national champion, but also brought laurels to the country by excelling in Baja South Africa and Baja USA. He has put up state-of-art Kirloskar Ice Engine Laboratory. He has been guiding PhD students and published several research papers as told earlier. He has totally revolutionized the Prime Minister's Special Scholarship Scheme that brought thousands of Jammu Kashmir students into mainstream by providing them educational opportunities in the rest of India. These students are spread now across India and they are engaged in development of our motherland. He is a firm believer of solving Kashmir issues through education. He has also conceptualized and started QIP scheme from 2018-19 for sending students for doing PhD from 500 top universities. The scheme will open this option to about 1,000 faculty. With this brief introduction, I warmly welcome Professor Dilip Malkade for this webinar. And now it is over to you, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you, Professor Karinka, for a wonderful introduction.
Thank you, sir.
Let me first thank you and your principal, Professor Niranjan Chiplunkar, and other team members, Professor Girinal, Professor Raghavendra Pai, for giving me this opportunity to talk to the faculty members in your region. I'm very delighted to be here to talk on the topic that you have given. And the topic given is higher education of future. It's a very difficult and broader subject. But let us see, in next 50-55 minutes, I will try to cover as much as possible. Let me now share with the audience. And before that, I would like to thank the audience also for registering for this webinar. Mute your mics. There was some noise, so I thought there is some disturbance. Okay. So about 900 universities we have, 42,500 colleges we have, such a huge system of education, and a typical nature of that education system which is different than the education system in the world is that India, which earlier was comprising of Pakistan, Bangladesh and mainland India, we have had the affiliating type of education system where there is one university and another university has about 100, 200, 300 colleges affiliated to it. So because in early days we did not have good number of academicians and maybe not having good system, good infrastructure available in colleges, which will be enough for development of curriculum, setting up question paper, conducting examination, declaring the results, and therefore we were dependent on a parent body, which was the university. But with this system of education we have only in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and also Nepal, because Nepal is our neighbor and they follow us. But not in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, you may be knowing, it's just 18 kilometers from the southernmost end. They have different education system, and this education system has made colleges too much dependent on the university, and every time the new education policy is framed, right from 1986, the Kothari Commission, these commissions have been recommending to stop this system of education. And even the current national education policy also recommends that our colleges should become more and more autonomous. They should be more and more having autonomy, independent, and they will be able to then do the experiments. They will have more freedom. They will be able to design the curriculum as per their needs and as per the local needs. But this is now, toward this we were moving, and therefore there was growth in terms of number of universities, and lot of colleges with autonomous status have also opened. We are the second largest technical education system in the world. The biggest system of technical education is in China, where they produce 1.2 million engineers per year, and we are next to them, and we have a capacity of producing about 1.0 million, means about 10 lakh students per year is what we have, and this was the size and therefore enrollment, number of institutions were all growing in last 20 years. So in a way, we were expanding. A lot of infrastructure is created. Like in this college, we have a wonderful infrastructure, and almost all the colleges, particularly the private ones and central government funded institutions, have great infrastructure, and we have administrative structure also very much in place. You will be surprised to know that there are about 18 to 20 different regulatory systems. We have apex bodies like CABE, National Knowledge Commission was set up, NITI Aayog is there to look at what we do, MHRD is there to monitor what is happening in the country in terms of this higher and school education. There is UGC, AICTE, there is Council of Architecture, Pharmacy Council of India, and lot of councils which are regulatory bodies for different types of regulations, different types of education systems. They are all in place. For example, for law education, Bar Council of India is there, and there for agriculture, Indian Council for Agriculture Research. ICMR, you must have been hearing now. ICMR is Indian Council of Medical Research. Indian Medical Council of India is also there. Dental Council of India. All these councils, including Veterinary Council. So this regulatory framework is there. Infrastructure is there. So a lot of development has took place in last many years. So we were actually ready to take any challenge in terms of higher education, and we wanted to reach out to the furthermost region of the country. Every small village we were planning to reach. As you know, current topic of discussion in the academic and industry is Industry 4.0 and in Education 4.0. Because Education 4.0 to meet the Industry 4.0 requirements, and therefore we were planning to do what is the requirement of the industry, to meet out the requirement of the industry. But that we had been doing right from the industry revolution 1.0. When steam engines came in, railway started, and there were mechanical engineers being produced, civil engineers produced, having lot of applications of thermodynamics, engines, steam engines, steam generator, turbines, and then came the second industry revolution when electricity was supplied to the machines, and machines had motors, electrical motors, manufacturing speed increased, and earlier machines used to have engines to operate machines. Now it was electrical power, and we then started teaching more of manufacturing, machining, because mass production started, and industrialization got expanded during Industry 2.0 revolution. Industry 3.0 revolution was robotics, numerical control machines, CNC machines, automation started, mass production started, production cost became cheaper, and we were already, academics was ready to provide the manpower, having more of electronics, more of computer engineers. That is why in last 25 years there was expansion, tremendous expansion of technical education, where electronics, computer science, engineering, microprocessor, VLSI, these were being taught. Now, Industry 4.0 demanded something more, and that Industry 4.0, where all the machines were connected, fitted with microprocessor, but microprocessor having artificial intelligence built in, IoT built in. Therefore, these machines were capable of talking to each other, and they were capable of taking the decisions themselves. Decision in terms of how much raw material should come, how much should be produced, how much finished product should go, and which date it should go. So all became automated, and therefore we were gearing up to meet out the requirements of the Industry 4.0, where not only robots, but autonomous robots, simulation, cyber security, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, virtual reality, system integration, industrial IoT, big data analytics, where the requirements of the industry. And as you know, the future lies in Industry 4.0. There is tremendous demand. There are private players in free education, and their courses are being sold at very, very high cost. We are all aware of it. And AICT was not lagging with the leadership that we have at AICT in the form of the dynamic chairman, Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe, who has been here for almost 5 years, Professor Punia, Vice Chairman, AICT, and our member secretaries, Professor Mittal previously and Professor Rajiv Kumar now. Under this leadership, the team of AICT officers are working, and we have from this year started giving approvals to the colleges to start courses in these areas. These areas, as I told, they are artificial intelligence, robotics, cyber security, Internet of Things, quantum computing, 3D printing, blockchain, data science, augmented reality, virtual reality will all be taught in your colleges if you have sought the approvals. And current approval process of approving courses, giving extension of approvals to the colleges is coming to an end, and there is tremendous interest of the people. Now, if we start offering a BTech course in these areas, what will happen? This student will take admission in the first year, they will move to the second and third and fourth, and then it will take 4 or 5 years. By that time, maybe there will be Industry 5.0, and the student will face difficulty in getting the job, and moreover, there will be a scarcity of staff in engineers in industry. Therefore, we thought of starting a module of a bunch of courses. So in each of these 9 areas, which we call as emerging areas, will be offered, and in each of these areas, for example, in artificial intelligence, there will be 6, 7, 8 courses, and student will be required to take, some of them. If they complete, say, 18 to 20 credits, in addition to their credits at BTech level, which they are otherwise also required to earn, they will be getting additional course after the other. And therefore, we could do some innovation, like we could make summer internship now mandatory for them. They have some time. We wanted some time to be spent in industry so that they have hands-on experience in the industry, or otherwise there are many models of providing internships, and they spend time there so that they are exposed to the practical difficulties, practical applications. We have also started induction program. So initial 3 weeks, students are not taught anything. So we could take out these 3 weeks for very useful purpose, and we call it an induction program. In induction program, what happens is we do not teach them anything formal, and we expect them to open up, talk to each other, student talking to the students, student talking to the faculty, and even faculty talking to the faculty, because they are not teaching anything formal. They spend more time on hobbies, their hobbies, talking about hobbies, and they are doing something on hobbies. There is a scope, lot of scope given for them to create something. Time given for attending lectures on universal human values, which are so important. But we should be very proud of our own online system, and I feel very proud to share with you that the online education system that we had in the form of a SWAYAM courses is the biggest online education platform in the world. We have largest number of courses. Currently, although looked after by IIT Madras, but it was initiated in 2016-17 at AICT, and AICT had developed this SWAYAM portal where 2,500 odd courses are available. So you just name the course and you find the course, and that too course offered by a top faculty of IIT, and you can take that course online. You can also get yourself evaluated. So learning and evaluation both are possible. We had NPTEL before SWAYAM. NPTEL was open courses, video courses available. That was our first experiment. And that was done almost 10 years before. 2006, since 2010, 2009, these NPTEL courses were available, and many of you, even our teachers, had started taking courses on NPTEL. So in next 1 minute, I would like to share with you, although it was a switch over from face-to-face class to online teaching, we were so much ready that sometimes I doubt as if we were actually anticipating something like this COVID that is going to happen to the world, and we were gearing up and we were developing courses, and more number of courses were developed actually in last 1 year. And I have a long list, and that I would like to share with you. For example, NPTEL is of course one experiment, and that was a very successful experiment. But it had some limitation, and therefore SWAYAM came, where you have option of writing examination, interacting with faculty, submitting assignments, and learning through video. Then ARPIT courses is another platform, and through ARPIT, faculty members can take education, ARPIT, AICTE, and students were having freedom to choose any course. So anything that they find the difficulty in learning, they can learn from here. And I am not very sure, but the number of students who have clicked these courses are close to crores. So very huge number of students are showing interest, faculty. The disadvantage is if you leave it to the students to take online course and no teacher to take care of the candidate from within, face to face, the dropout is huge. The student may take one course. Now there is a regulation that student be allowed to take one course out of 5 courses in every semester through online mechanism, which is 20%. So that regulation is in public domain, and your university, autonomous colleges are fully aware of it. So if there are 5 courses in semester, you can take one course through online, and online evaluation will be done. That can be recognized by the autonomous colleges and universities is already there, and this 20% may increase, but the dropout is huge, and therefore there is a human intervention required. And you are all aware that through online mechanism you have started teaching. So we have many tools available, like starting with Zoom, Facebook, YouTube Live, like today's YouTube Live is happening, Skype, Google Hangout, and list is endless. A lot of tools have come up, and people have during this lockdown period developed new, and they have come. And there is a need for proper policy for this online education, and I think government sooner, particularly UGC, is likely to come out with some good regulations in this. But hardware is the issue. Not every student is having a good laptop, not having the good internet facility. But most of the engineering colleges are in Taluka place, and in Taluka place, yeah, you have a good internet. So if student is remotely located today, it's okay. There are going to be problems. Even in Delhi, we face problems of internet connectivity. Students are bound to face, but there are some alternate ways of working, and I think and the solutions will be depending on the teacher and the students. So locally, you can think of the alternate methods of getting engaged into online teaching. But online teaching is very, very important, and this is this becomes more easy and in more coordinated fashion if we use some good tools that we already have. Maybe newer methods of teaching. People have experimented many, and you have come across many teaching methods. And I found one of the most easy teaching method through online mechanism is to record a small video of 5 minutes on a very small topic and send it across WhatsApp and let him watch. Is what I found the best and most easy, because the student gets the video from the same teacher who was teaching them earlier in face-to-face mode. And we also took the survey. I talked to some of the students and talked to some of the teachers, and this was one of the best method of online teaching, where the video was recorded by a teacher in house on the whiteboard and that was shared on WhatsApp. Many methods are there. Okay, but what about laboratory? In laboratory there are many other techniques available, options available. Face-to-face laboratory, how it happens. There are 20 to 25 students in the laboratory and only one, in some cases 2 students participate. Rest 18-20 students do not participate in that, and they do not know what is happening. There is a need for the laboratory experiments, but there are some alternatives also available, at least for 30 to 40% of the laboratory. And those are virtual laboratories which are already available. That is why I am saying that so much online content was developed in last 10 years as if we were anticipating some threat like this. So 1,200 laboratories are already available. 1,200 laboratories in every engineering discipline, for every course. Say for mechanical engineering, if you go to thermodynamics, there are many virtual experiments available. We want engineers who will create, not the engineers who will remember. And therefore, creating is something which is very, very important. And these 3D printers, if you have more in number, if you have more laboratories, more circuits, more spare parts, either virtual or physical, or virtual first and physical later, will create a lot of interest. You see the number of students participating in TechFest, huge number of students they would like to create, they would like to solve some problem. So creating makes the engineering more interesting, not theory, is what is our observation. Okay, and I request all the viewers to, after this lecture, you can just go to virtual laboratories and find the laboratories which will be very interesting even for the teachers to do. And advantage of this is, of course, no cost, but no damages. Particularly high voltage experiment, if you want to do, there are no risks here. So short circuit will be shown through simulation, but you will not be getting the electrical shock. And therefore, this virtual experiments have some advantages which even we do not have in our conventional laboratories. Okay. Under newer methods of teaching, in one line I would like to tell you, newer methods of teaching, you find out every brain will have new idea, but one important thing is problem solving should be involved. Students should be involved with problem solving. Hackathon competitions which are now happening in all the campuses, every college is organizing hackathon, but it is mostly software based hackathon. Every department should actually organize hackathon. In every subject, hackathon should be organized. Creating makes engineering more interesting is what is one line I would like to talk about. If there is one line out of this lecture, if someone can take, in every course, find out something which can be. Maybe it be a drawing, may it be a design, may it be product, may it be component, may it be circuitry, may it be machine, may it be computer program, the software or website.